Welcome back to our series exploring the architectural journey of Frank Lloyd Wright. In this episode, we focus on 1908, when Wright's creative genius produced remarkable yet unrealized designs. We'll uncover unique concepts and innovative ideas behind these unbuilt homes, offering insights into Wright's evolving style and boundary-pushing designs. Join us as we explore the masterpieces that could have been, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay tuned for more on Wright's unbuilt projects. (1908) Frank S. Baker House, Wilmette, Illinois. The Baker House project shares several similarities with the Beachy House in Oak Park, particularly in the prominent brick masses at the corners and the stucco walls covered by strong gable roofs. The various plans offer different solutions for the ground floor layout. In one plan, the living and dining rooms are aligned along one axis, separated by a shared fireplace with a large covered porch running along the side. In this design, the section containing the entrance, kitchen, and maid's room juts out from the elongated layout. In another design, the porch is positioned at right angles to the dining room, creating a cruciform plan, which is reflected in the perspective drawing. On the upper level, 2 of the 4 bedrooms feature fireplaces, while 2 bathrooms complete the floor plan. The overall structure is quite solid, with massive brick piers ending at the sill level of the upper story windows, and the building is adorned with vines, contributing to its distinctive character. Dr. W.W.H. Copeland House Alterations, Oak Park, Illinois. The alterations that Frank Lloyd Wright initially proposed for the Copeland House turned out to be larger and more expensive than the client desired, leading to the project's cancellation. Wright's design included 2 broad covered porches, one facing the street and another off the dining room. He also planned to remove the bay windows of the original structure and introduce a 3rd-floor ballroom with a fireplace and windows surrounding it. Additionally, Wright aimed to replace the steeply pitched roof with a gentler slope, aligning more closely with his characteristic prairie house style. William Norman Guthrie House, Sewanee, Tennessee. Although only a sketch plan exists for this project, the perspective reveals a classic prairie house design, featuring a 2-story living room and a long wing extending out at right angles to it. The layout, reminiscent of the Isabel Roberts House, was later built for Frank Baker in Wilmette, Illinois. This client, Guthrie, would later reappear in the late 1920s when he commissioned Frank Lloyd Wright for 2 ambitious projects in New York City: an apartment tower for his church, St. Mark S. in the Bowery, and the Steel Cathedral. Willard Ashton, Horseshoe Inn, Estes Park, Colorado. The aerial perspective, drawn in pencil on tracing paper, and subsequent blueprint of the perspective offer a glimpse into the design, although some details are challenging to discern due to faded and worn paper. Henry Russell Hitchcock later labeled the project Horseshoe Inn, Estes Park, Colorado, emphasizing its location and intent. Wright's design features a broad, extended building with a central mass for the lounge, dining room, kitchen, and service areas, flanked by guest wings on either side. The wings are predominantly on one level, except for the 2-story section at the end of the guest wings, and a tower forming a 3rd story where the 2-story wing connects to the 1-story wing. The unique aspect of the design is how Wright incorporated part of the building as a bridge over a mountain stream. Francis W. Little House, Summer House, Boathouse, Stables, and Gardener's Cottage, Lake Minnetonka, Minnesota. Frank Lloyd Wright's first proposal for the Little Summer House featured a cruciform plan that thoughtfully organized the key living spaces across 2 intersecting axes. The layout included a porch, living room, hall, kitchen, maid's room, bathroom, and service porch aligned on one axis, while the porte cochere, entry hall, dining room, and its porch were positioned on the other axis. On the second floor, Wright planned for 4 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. Notably, the bedroom over the living room included a fireplace and opened onto an outdoor balcony. The basement area under the entrance hall, pantry, and maid's bathroom was designed for a heater and storage. 1909. Hiram Baldwin House, Kenilworth, Illinois. Originally thought to be from 1905, the Hiram Baldwin House was dated to 1909, following the recent discovery of a land deed. Frank Lloyd Wright's first proposal for the house featured a cruciform plan with the dining room, living room, and library aligned on one axis, while the kitchen and porch were on the other. This initial scheme included 4 bedrooms, a servant's room, and a bathroom on the second floor. However, this plan was abandoned, and Wright developed a new, more elongated design. In the revised layout, Wright placed a large fireplace in the reception room, flanked by the dining room on the right and the living room on the left. Both the dining and living rooms featured windows on 3 sides, with the living room opening onto a large roofed porch. The kitchen and pantry were situated directly behind the reception room. The second floor accommodated 5 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, providing ample space for family and guests. The house's exterior was designed using stucco and wood trim, consistent with Wright's prairie-style architectural approach. Village of Bitter Root Valley, Montana. In the early part of 1909, Frank Lloyd Wright received 2 significant commissions in Darby, Montana, prompted by his client Frederick Nichols, who was promoting a summer colony for University of Chicago professors. The first scheme, labeled Town of Bitter Root, featured a group of buildings laid out on a square grid, with a formal, axial plan that didn't consider the site's topography. At the town center, a spacious park led to a hotel, while various buildings were designated for civic functions such as a telephone exchange, telegraph office, fire department, power and light station, library, museum, hospital, school, real estate office, and theater. The park was intersected by sunken railroad tracks, with streets bridging over them. Residential homes on the outskirts followed a more irregular pattern aligned with the site's slope. The second proposal, labeled Village of Bitter Root, was more modest, positioning the town along the railroad. This schematic plan outlined structures like a station, hotel, church, opera house, and library, along with blocks of private residences. Wright also created detailed designs for a typical house and a work camp. The typical house had a simple square plan with a living room, dining room, and kitchen surrounding a central fireplace and a covered porch at the entry, reflecting Wright's focus on practical, comfortable living spaces. Study for Mrs. Coonley. Project. In 1940, Henry Russell Hitchcock inscribed "Study for Mrs. Coonley" on the blueprints of this typical prairie-style house, although it's unclear how this project was associated with Mrs. Avery Coonley. The house's first floor features a living room, nook, and dining room aligned along one extended line, with a half-circular outdoor terrace and an entrance position behind the living room fireplace. Beyond the dining room and stairwell, the plan extends to include a kitchen, a small bedroom, and a bathroom. The house also has a second entry into the kitchen, as well as a stairwell leading down to the basement. The second floor of the house includes 4 bedrooms and a bathroom, fitting into the overall design's emphasis on practicality and efficient use of space typical of Frank Lloyd Wright's prairie-style homes. Mrs. Larwill House, Muskegon, Michigan. The Larwill House, depicted in a perspective drawing as a brick structure, features a modified cruciform plan that is less pronounced than in many of Frank Lloyd Wright's prairie houses. The living room and dining room are separated more formally, connected by an opening adjacent to the fireplace, which is an unusual detail for Wright's designs from this era. A covered veranda extends from the main living areas, accessible from both the living room and dining room, enhancing the indoor-outdoor connection. Opposite the veranda is a space labeled terrace, although this part of the drawing seems unfinished. A secondary entrance provides access to the kitchen at the rear of the house, enhancing functionality. On the second floor, the house offers 3 bedrooms, a servant's room, and 2 bathrooms. The room labeled Mrs. Larwill features a small fireplace in the corner and a generous array of windows, creating a bright and inviting space. This layout balances practicality with comfort, fitting within Wright's architectural philosophy while incorporating unique elements. Sarwin D. Martin Summer Cottage, Lake Erie, New York. Frank Lloyd Wright designed a summer cottage for Darwin D. Martin in the style of a long 2-story prairie-style structure. The entrance, set within a covered porch, leads directly into the combined living-dining room. An adjacent covered veranda provides additional outdoor space next to the kitchen. The second floor accommodates 5 bedrooms and a bathroom. J.G. Melson House, Mason City, Iowa. The perspective of the Melson House closely resembles the design Frank Lloyd Wright created for Isabel Roberts. The perspective view is particularly revealing, as the sketch of the first floor shows a cruciform layout similar to the Isabel Roberts house. Interestingly, an elevation drawing in the file, which is much more developed, does not match the plan or the perspective identified as the Melson House. This discrepancy suggests that the elevation may correspond to an entirely different, unidentified project, distinct from the Melson House design. Lawton Parker Studio Remodel, New York. The available drawings for this project show a remodeled studio of 2 levels designed by Frank Lloyd Wright. However, it's challenging to pinpoint exactly what changes Wright made to the original structure based on these drawings alone. The section drawings do highlight Wright's design for wood trim, which suggests that part of the remodel focused on enhancing interior finishes and detailing. The drawings provide some insight into Wright's approach, but the full extent of the changes remains unclear. Mary Roberts House, River Forest, Illinois. In this somewhat compact cruciform plan, the living room, dining room, and library align along the central axis, with the kitchen extending behind the living room fireplace in one direction and a partially covered porch extending in the other direction. Initial penciled sketches on the black ink working drawings indicate that a maid's room was intended to be placed next to the kitchen, while the flat roof over the porch was later changed to an extended hip roof. The second floor features 3 bedrooms and a bathroom, with the master bedroom boasting its own fireplace. The basement includes a heater, laundry, and storage. The house's elevations reveal a stucco exterior with wood trim, characteristic of Frank Lloyd Wright's prairie style. Edward C. Waller, 3 Houses, River Forest, Illinois. The project, known as 3 Rental Houses, was part of E.C. Waller's housing initiatives. In an early perspective showing the 3 houses side by side, Frank Lloyd Wright inscribed around 1950, "Housing a la mode, 1913." The working drawings for these houses reveal a plan similar to Wright's Fireproof House from the Ladies' Home Journal, featuring a first floor with a living room, dining room, covered porch, and kitchen, and a second floor with 3 bedrooms and a bathroom. However, when Wright, along with his son Lloyd and draftsman Taylor Woolley, developed new plans and perspectives while in Italy, the project evolved. In the Wasmuth portfolio, Wright described the project as 3 typical houses for real estate subdivision for Mr. E.C. Waller: hip roof, flat roof, and gable. The hip roof design was used for a prairie-style house with stucco and wood trim, while the gable roof design, based on the same floor plan, was suggested for board and batten construction. This design also appeared in Wright's Bitter Root Town project. The flat roof design, constructed with stucco and wood trim, had a slightly different floor plan, and its flat roofs gave it a more streamlined appearance. 1910. Frank Lloyd Wright Studio and Residence, Fiesole, Italy. Frank Lloyd Wright spent 1910 in Italy, initially in Florence and later in Fiesole, where he prepared the drawings for the Wasmuth portfolio. During this time, he sketched a design for a studio and residence for himself, which he labeled Studio for the Architect, Florentine Study, Florence, 1910. The design was inspired by the regional architectural style, featuring a wall extending to the street edge and a garden court behind it. The entrance is through a doorway in the wall, leading to a smaller courtyard. The building also includes a vehicle entrance with a garage at the end of the passageway. 1911. Sherman Booth House, Glencoe, Illinois. Most of Frank Lloyd Wright's early residential commissions were situated on flat sites in suburban or urban settings. However, with the Sherman Booth House, Wright had the opportunity to design on a unique site facing a deep ravine in a woodland setting. The entrance drive to the house crosses a bridge over the ravine, and a bedroom wing extending from the house forms a second bridge over the ravine. On the opposite side, a covered pergola stretches out to a hill crown and pavilion, connecting the house to both the ravine and the hill. The Sherman Booth House is extensive, with living wings extending in multiple directions. While it contains elements of Wright's prairie houses, it is distinct from that genre, much like Wright's Taliesin. The house is intricately integrated into the natural landscape and topography, with materials including stucco with wood trim, a shingle tile roof, and a copper cornice. The design epitomizes Wright's ability to harmonize architecture with its natural surroundings. Architectural features for Parker Way for Sherman Booth, Giants, Illinois. In several sketches, Frank Lloyd Wright inscribed the name Sherman Booth, referencing a key figure in the Glencoe Park District. This organization is also noted on one of the drawings, while another drawing, labeled Architectural Features for Parker Way, showcases various design elements, including a gateway, urns, lanterns, and a park shelter. These features highlight Wright's detailed attention to the aesthetic integration of architectural and landscape elements, reflecting his commitment to creating cohesive, harmonious environments. Avery Coonley Greenhouse, Riverside, Illinois. This project remained in the conceptual and preliminary study stages. In the more finished drawing, the only labels include quarry tile for the main building, referring to the flooring. Additionally, the chicken yard and a potting shed are identified, both of which are adjacent to the half-circular space in the greenhouse. This suggests that, while the project included some detailed planning, it was not developed further beyond these initial stages. Avery Coonley Kindergarten, Riverside, Illinois. In his project for the Coonley Kindergarten, Frank Lloyd Wright crafted a masterful expression of architectural design, closely resembling the style he achieved in Unity Temple. The flat, projecting roofs softened the exterior masses and volumes, while the interior plan featured a large two-story space, bordered by a fireplace at one end and stairways leading to galleries at the other. On either side of the central gallery were two rooms, each with a fireplace and stairs on both sides leading to a viewing gallery above. Arthur W. Cutton House, Downers Grove, Illinois. The Cutton House, designed by Frank Lloyd Wright, closely resembles his iconic Taliesin in architectural style, but unlike typical prairie houses, it is built flush with the ground, harmoniously integrated into the surrounding landscape. The living and dining rooms are designed like pavilions featuring stone columns and glass doors, with pergolas extending outward. Both rooms are connected by an entrance hall that opens onto gardens and fountains. Walter Goertz House, River Forest, Illinois. The Walter Goertz House experienced fire damage, leading Frank Lloyd Wright to specify alterations in which all charred and damaged woodwork, floors, walls, and ceilings were to be replaced to match their original condition. The proposed changes included the addition of new partitions, the relocation of existing partitions, new cabinets and shelving, as well as updated patterns for the window designs. Edward Schroeder House, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. One of the most spacious and elaborate residential plans from Frank Lloyd Wright's Prairie House period was this design for Edward Schroeder. This grand-scale project is among the last of this genre. The house is approached from the street via a long drive with a planted median running down the center. The drive penetrates the ground level of the building, offering a direct view of the lake, while the main floor bridges over it. The drive includes a 180-degree turnaround leading to a 4-car garage and an exit drive. Study for a small suburban house. Location unspecified. The drawing, dated 1911 in the title block, was later marked as 1912 by Frank Lloyd Wright. The plan closely resembles the house he designed for Emil Bach in Chicago, 1915, with only minor alterations. The design is square, following the lines of the fireproof house, but includes an enclosed porch off the entry hall. The kitchen has its own service entrance, a practical feature. Unfortunately, no plan of the upper level survives for this project. Frank Lloyd Wright Townhouse, Goethe Street, Chicago, Illinois. When Frank Lloyd Wright and Mama Borthwick Cheney returned to the United States, Wright, having separated from his wife, planned a townhouse on Chicago's fashionable Goethe Street. The narrow lot meant that only the front and rear of the house could have windows. The ground floor included an office with a fireplace and lavatory, while the kitchen and maid's room at the rear had access to an alley. The perspective suggested a bedroom at the front on the first floor, opening onto a balcony with a living room behind it. The second floor featured a bedroom and bathroom, with a narrow balcony overlooking the 2-story living room. The third level appeared to lead to an attic space. To address the lack of side windows, Wright designed a skylight overhead, illuminating the living room, dining room, and music balcony with natural light. The design featured a narrow balcony alongside a vine-covered trellis from the bedroom level to a roof garden, creating a bright and inviting townhouse filled with daylight, flowers, and greenery. Thank you for joining us in exploring Frank Lloyd Wright's innovative designs and remarkable architectural projects from 1908 to 1912. We've journeyed through some of his most ambitious and visionary works, highlighting his unique ability to transform challenging sites into stunning and functional homes. We hope you enjoyed this deep dive into Wright's evolving style and groundbreaking designs. If you liked this episode, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell to stay updated on our next explorations of Wright's fascinating career. Share your thoughts and favorite designs from this era in the comments below. Until next time, keep exploring the world of architecture around us.